In this video, we're going to be looking at the coolest moments of Chopin's first Ballade. And we're going to jump right in here. And stop. Very first note that we hear in this piece is a C. It's a C as part of an A flat chord, and not just an A flat chord, but an A flat chord with a bunch of B flats in there. None of that's weird yet. I mean, Chopin does a ton of major chords, obviously. He even does a bunch of chords with added twos, that second note kind of thrown in there as an extra note. But it's starting on an A flat chord. This is Chopin's first Ballade in G minor. In G minor. So we are starting on a chord that's a half step above G. We're starting on the 2 in A, but a flat 2 chord. Now, I can see the future. I know there's going to be a few comments that say something on the lines of, well, bro really thought a Neapolitan chord was special and weird. I know in and of itself, a Neapolitan chord isn't that abnormal, but to start a piece in this time period, really any time period, on the Neapolitan is pretty crazy. Just imagine we're in this key when it starts for a while. Then we just immediately go to all these weird, obviously searching for a key. Here we almost find it. Then obviously the 12th chord here before we finally kick off with the correct key. This is one of the things that makes Chopin, I think, Chopin. So he has the flashy arpeggio on top that's obviously gets all the attention, but in the bottom voice, you actually get this tune going on here like this, and then if you don't want to call them outright melodies, if you still want to play the arpeggio louder sometimes, that's fine. That's kind of a musical decision, but at least there's interest going on with this harmony with almost like this little tiny jumping chromatic melody going on. Another really, really great moment that happens in the midst of all that chaos is the fact they had this, and then also moving down and then to there. So you sort of have this voice marching down chromatically at the beginning of each of the arpeggios. One of the aspects that makes this really cool is that even though the melody is very natural, the melody doesn't feel like it's forced. It just seems like one of these Chopin melodies that just flow out. I don't want to say it's carefree. It's pretty intentional and tender and beautiful, but very just natural. One thing to the next. You jump up an octave. But the harmony is actually changing all over the place. We have like a B flat 7 going to an E flat chord. We have what ends up being kind of like an F7 going back to a B flat chord. Then we get this. And this is where it gets really crazy. So E flat major 7 we eventually end up on. A flat major 7. D half diminished 7. G7. C minor. F to B flat. They're all just circle of fifth sequence with all 7th chords. We have E flat major 7. A flat 7, D half diminished 7, G7, C minor, actually no 7 on the C minor chord, and then to F7. So we just get the circle of fifths. Oh yeah, I got to point out that chord right there. So we have a G minor chord here. We get B flat, which isn't weird considering we just came from a section with a whole bunch of E flats and B flats. I remember when I played this piece, that chord was so hard for me to memorize because for a long time I was like, what is this mysterious harmony? I mean, yeah, obviously it is D minor, DFA. It's a pretty clear D minor chord. But the thing is always, how did we get there? We're on G minor. Okay, we're turning happier. We went to G minor, to B flat, to actually considering Chopin's just about to go back to the beginning, back to our first melody. A chord that would work really well here is actually D7. But the thing is, Chopin's going back to our original melody in just a second here, but he's actually not going back to our original key. He's going to go back to our original melody, but shift everything up a whole step. So part of the reason why Chopin's using this D minor chord instead of a D7 or a different chord is he's trying to get to the key of A minor. Obviously D7 is pretty far from A minor, but D minor is just a 4 chord going to a 5 chord, which kicks us right into the this brings back some terrible memories. So for me, I'm not saying for anyone else who played this piece, I'm sure everyone has a different struggle, but for me, this was the hardest section of the whole piece, even harder than the coda. The left hand just going, like it's so dainty and light and delicate and so easy to bang, like, and make sure you really get those notes, but to be accurate and delicate. I struggled so much this section. Literally, like, just this 8 measure group was what I feared the most performing this piece. Actually, it still is. I played this piece again a few years ago, and that part there, like, I just kind of faked. I didn't have a lot of time to get the piece ready, so I just kind of was like, well, that part will be okay, and I'll get the rest of the piece with the amount of time I have. All right, this part's really funny because here's what it looks like on the score. You've got this group of 5 followed by a grace note. And typically in Chopin, you're going to play the grace notes before the beat. So you have to have 5 against 6 in the left hand, but you need time to squeeze an extra grace note in there. And what most people end up doing is basically just play 6 even notes. And this recording here, which is a really, really nice recording. This is provided free by Jason. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but there it is on the screen. Great recording, but like, yeah, he definitely just plays a group of 6. And then right here, we have another really fun rhythmic moment where you have a 3 on the top part, 4 in the middle, and 6 on the bottom. So all at the same time, we have 6 notes, 4 notes, and 3 notes. Now the 3 is also tied to make it even more complicated, but most people just kind of slow down here and make it work because you don't want to play over robotically anyway. But you technically do have a 3 and a 6 like this. Then you also have a 4. But you put all that together, you get something like a lot of things going on at once. So for the most part, everyone just slows way down there and just kind of makes it work. Like, even if none of the right notes actually line up with where they're supposed to line up, they make it sound pretty. Welcome to advanced piano music. Hear that. So that's the moment I was saying earlier, went from the G minor to the B flat to the D minor, which was kind of surprising. We actually got stuck on the G minor for much longer this time, and actually becoming the D7 I was saying we sort of expected from earlier. So in a way, Chopin's redoing that, doing it a little different and kind of fixing it, because again, before we did the same thing with the G minor chord and then went up a step and did our whole section in the key of A minor, he wants to return to that original melody now in the original key of G minor. So he doesn't want to like stray away from G minor too much this time around. Nice. One of the things I love about Chopin is that during this coda, it's obviously extremely flashy and just impressive to listen to. But one of these things where the more you listen to it, or especially the more you play it, if you play it for yourself, you actually start to hear a melody in here. So you get... Let's give that another listen and try to hear that tune embedded in there. So it makes it an extra layer of complexity. It's not just, hey, I can play fast notes, but I can play fast notes and bring out a tune kind of in the inner voices of my thumb at the same time. As a piano player right here, you always like breathe a sigh of relief because I'm not saying it's easy, but relative to everything you just did to get to the coda in the first page and a half of the coda, like this last page and a half is kind of like, I feel like you're on the home stretch. I mean, chromatic scale with the left hand's going. That's all not that hard. And that, of course, is the awesome ending to one of the greatest pieces ever written. Thanks so much for watching the video. Let me know if you kind of like this style of video where I'm listening to a piece and kind of commenting on it as we go along. I'll see you guys in a future video.